Andrew Sandler in studio right now to kind of have just a conversation about why this is working for you. You know, director, producer, editor, just all-around nice guy, USC alum, which is kind of what helped bring us together as well. We met on the red carpet, just like chopping it up for a Chris Brown documentary, which you directed, which congratulations, that was phenomenal. The conversation I want to have today is really kind of just to see where your path took you to get to where you are today. Because like I see you running around today and you're shooting music videos, you're shooting documentaries for people like Mary J. Blige and Chris Brown. You know, one is a great that has come before kind of, you know, most of our music, and then one is someone that we grew up with. How is like life right now? How is life, this busy, hectic schedule you've got?
How is life? I mean, I love it, man. I'm just taking it one day at a time. I appreciate the kind words. I don't feel like I've done it yet, but however I can like help give back or help people like get on a better track to where they want to be. Like,
Well, I think that's one of the great things about, you know, the people that are I believe changing the game is, one, they don't believe that they're at where they want to be yet, at the precipice, or kind of like have done as much as they have, because they're so like track-minded on like, okay, I'm trying to change the game per se, or do so many other great things, that you kind of don't get a chance to step back and look at it as a full round picture. And that is also a part of what this is trying to do, is let people see the full story, you know, because there is a lot of work that goes up to being where you are now.
For sure.
And something that I used to do, I used to look at people, and the first time you'd see them, you'd be like, wow, they're an overnight success. You know what I mean? Someone gave them a camera and said, you know, film Chris Brown documentary.
Yeah.
That's not the way it works.
No, definitely not.
That's not the way it works.
It's a lot of hard work, man. A lot of sleepless nights. You can't cheat the grind.
You can't. And that's the thing. Like, I talk about you know, there's this 10-year or 100,000 hours.
Yeah.
Or was it 10,000
10,000
hours?
Yeah.
I think that's super real.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? Like, when
I think
you
so
work
too.
with people?
And if I feel like if you do get a lucky break, and you haven't had your 10,000 hours, or you don't like keep trying to get your 10,000 hours, a lot of people might get that lucky break and then they just stop working hard. They think that they can just sit back and chill. That's gonna bite you in the ass.
Bite you in the ass. Yeah. So where do you think that like your 10,000 hours started? You know, because you've been out of college now 7 years ish, or
almost 7 years.
7 years.
Yes.
Where did your 10,000 hours start in the kind of directing film kind of sense?
I mean, I started in the film industry when I was super young. A lot of people don't know that I dabbled in like acting when I was a kid, from like ages 10 to 15. But I got to be on sets, like movie sets and TV sets and commercial sets. And so from an early age, I got to be exposed to that world. So I think that's why when I finally got to do it from the director standpoint, it wasn't such a foreign concept to me, because I had like already experienced it. Maybe even 10,000 hours worth of being on a set at that point. But I did that for a while, but that's how I kind of found my niche in like wanting to be, at that point I wanted to be a DP or a director. I didn't really know what any of the other roles were yet, but I knew that I wanted to do one of those. So that's when I like really picked up my first camera. I just started shooting short films all the time in high school. Started, you know, doing my own content back then, which is, I feel like, different than doing content now, because it's so accessible.
So easy
back
to do
then,
content
everyone
now.
wasn't doing it. You know, it was kind of, I was like shooting short films, and nobody else was, unless you like wanted to be a director like I did.
Exactly.
You know? And now I feel like everybody's making content, which is great. Which I tell people, like, create every single day. No matter what it is. Like, even if it's like, you know, writing 1,000 words a day, or picking up a camera and shooting a scene, or working with an actor and going over dialogue, as long as you get those, you know, put those hours in, that stuff adds up. And that's, I think, how you can get to become, you know, where you want to go.
You said you started like doing acting first.
Yeah.
Most people, I feel like, you know, like want to, as a young kid, you want to get into acting. That's kind of like the dream, you know what I mean? Like, you got a taste of that at an early age, and then you said, it's not really for me. I want to go behind the camera.
Yeah.
How did that decision come?
I mean, I am awful in front of the camera now.
You
like,
can't be awful in front of the
like,
camera if you
dude,
got put in some
like,
of these films that you were in.
I know, but it feels like crazy that I was an actor at some point, because I definitely would not be able to do that now. But it worked for me then. I had a baby face, and I was getting like all these roles. And I was like 15. I was still getting the 11 and 12-year-old roles, so it worked.
That's gotta work great for you in high school.
Yeah,
acting in movies and stuff like that's everyone's dream. Girls like, oh, okay,
yeah,
this guy's an actor. All right,
something like that.
Yeah. So what like kind of switched in you that went, nah, I want to be behind the camera. That I want to be telling the stories rather than kind of like acting out the stories.
I started working with different directors on these different sets and watching them work. I became so fascinated by it, and I remember going to like Barnes and Noble all the time and just reading every single book I could on filmmaking and editing and everything. And I got a chance to work with Steven Spielberg on Minority Report.
Wow.
And I got to be on set with him for 3 weeks, which was like a life-changing experience.
At what age is that?
I was, I think, like 14 or 15 at the time.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Did you understand the like who Steven Spielberg was at that age?
For sure. Maybe not the level that I do now.
Yeah.
But I definitely like knew it was a big deal, and it was like inspiring to be there for 3 weeks watching him. And I just remember reading after that shoot, I just like kept studying him, and I read all of all the books on him and everything else, and I just became fascinated with like learning like more and more and more. And I remember shooting short films, I was like doing things that nobody else in my school was like. I knew that I wanted a dolly shot, so I would build my own dolly. I would go to Home Depot, buy PVC pipe. I would do the skateboard stuff, and nobody else was really doing that yet. But it was because I got to be on those sets and see it on like the real scale that I was like kind of reverse engineered it. I was like, okay, I want to do that crane shot, but I don't have a crane, so
figuring out your way to do it.
All right, I'll put the camera on a rope or something, or like I'll figure it out. But I got to I feel like really learn those basic filmmaking techniques early on, just from like I said, reverse engineering it and like figuring it out myself.
Yeah. Do you remember like one piece of advice or like one thing that you saw Steven Spielberg do during that, being on set for Minority Report that really still even like kind of resonates with you today and you have taken along the career path so far?
I mean, just the way he commands his set, obviously. He's worked with the same people for a long time, so they have it down like to a T. But I just remember being in awe of just how he commanded the set and just how he's able to communicate to every single key player on his team.
Do you feel like that kind of plays a part in why you decided to go to USC? Obviously, Steven Spielberg is very tied into USC. Was that at 14 a pipe dream? Was that something you thought like, I want to go there?
Yeah.
Will I be able to, or was it always like, I'm going there?
Like 100%, because as I started to like I said, research everything about film, became fascinated with Steven Spielberg, I started to realize like, damn, almost all my favorite filmmakers went to USC.
Yeah.
And I started to learn that as I started to research and like seek out these individual directors. When I watch a movie and be like, damn, I love that movie. Who directed it? Oh, he went to USC, and it became this pattern.
Yeah.
So, and also being from LA, like USC is the biggest thing out here, and the film school is the best film school in the world, basically. But I was always a terrible student, so I didn't know how I was gonna get there, but I always knew I was gonna get there. It wasn't even a question in my mind if I was or wasn't. I knew I was. I just didn't know how I was gonna.
What was your way to get there? Because I was exactly the same. I was a terrible student. I tried to, and I figured out a way to get into USC in a different manner because I couldn't have gone out of high school straight to USC personally.
Same.
What was your way that you figured out to get in?
Yeah, well, like I said, I was an awful student in high school. There was no way I was going to USC straight from high school. But what I did do is I went to City College first. I went to Santa Barbara City College. And
That's right. We went to the same City College as well.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But, since USC is a private school, it's different from like a UC where UC will tell you exactly what classes you need to take in order to transfer. USC is not the same. It's a private school, so they have like their categories, like a general idea of what you got to do. But there's no guidebook.
Yeah.
So when I went to Santa Barbara, I knew that I only had those 2 years to make it count, to be able to get in USC, because after that, it's like, if you don't get in, what are you going to,
Exactly, yeah.
Keep going to school until you keep applying.
And there's a lot of people at Santa Barbara City that have been there for 5 or 6 years. Because you get stuck up there.
I did not want that to be me, as much as I love my experience there.
Yeah.
But I knew I had to make it count, so I just had a conversation with myself. It was like, you better make it work, and I did. I had to reframe my mind and like reapproach how I was gonna like approach academics, because before that, like in high school, I always thought I was like too good for every other subject. I was like, I want to be a director, I want to be a filmmaker, I just want to be making my short films, I don't care about biology or English. So I just kind of blew off every other class. When I got this Santa Barbara, I knew like, the only way you're gonna get to where you need to be at USC is if you just if you confront,
you could be a well-rounded student.
Well-rounded, and I just kind of like retrained my mindset to be able to just crush it, and I did, and I got a 4.0 out of Santa Barbara, which still doesn't even guarantee you can get into USC because they take like 40 kids a year, but it definitely like helps you like get an edge or get your foot in the door, and then with that you write like a couple essays to get in. And I got in somehow.
What's the feeling like? Because I know exactly what that feeling like, and I love talking to people about that feeling when you get accepted to the school of your dreams. What, like,
crazy.
How was it for you?
Crazy.
Did you believe it at first?
No. I was just like so mind-blowing that I got in, because it was like a dream or goal of mine, and I didn't apply anywhere else, which was the crazy part. Like, I basically put all my eggs in one basket. I applied to USC. I was like, this is the only school I want to go to. I didn't apply to anywhere else, which looking back is probably so stupid, because I could have just not gotten in.
Were people like down your neck at that time? Like, yo, why? Like, your parents or like anyone, like, you can't just apply to one school.
No.
Or were you in your, like, you knew it was happening?
I just knew it was going to happen. I just like had so much faith in the fact that it was going to happen. I did everything I could, and I just kind of like put all my energy and focus into just like hoping that would happen.
Were you ready for USC Film School at that time? Like, I know a lot of friends that have gone through USC Film School. Some have finished and some haven't finished, because it's a grueling process of getting through there. Were you ready for it when you got there?
I was definitely ready, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I was so ready that even like my second semester there, I started a production company with like 3 other classmates of mine. And we were already like ahead of the curve. Like my second year at USC, we were already like doing outside the school, doing like commercials for like Gap and Fanta and Nike, and like so we go and like shoot those commercials. And I was an undergrad, I wasn't a grad student, so it's a little bit different, because as an undergrad, it's like you're still making movies and touching the camera, but it's a little bit slower of a process. You're still doing like film theories classes, so we'd be out there with our production company shooting like commercials and stuff for Nike, and then we'd come back to class and have to like sit in a class and like shoot a dialogue scene with like theater students. We're just like, damn.
Is that tough? Was that like tough being able to like separate your 2 different lives that are going on? Like, maybe you have professors kind of trying to teach you something and you're like, yo, I'm already doing that. Or had you learned at this stage because of kind of like your aspect of changing your mindset for college?
Exactly.
That you need to do this.
Exactly. I mean, I was just so grateful and like lucky and blessed to be there. Like every day going to class and having the professors I had, and the access that I had to these professors, it was just like so humbling. So I never really even like thought like that. I was just excited to be there and just take it all in.
I've watched, obviously I watched the Chris Brown documentary. I've gone back and watched like quite a few like music videos and stuff that you shot. What is it? And I always feel like the people that are best at telling stories have gone through usually quite a bit in their life and have a story that's within them themselves. What is it about you that like really allows you to tell these great stories on camera?
To tell the great stories, I mean, I've worked hard to get to where I need to be. Like, nothing was a handout. Like getting into USC wasn't a handout from anybody. I had to really work my ass off and make it happen for myself. And the same thing after college. So I think just knowing like how far I've come just inspires me to like reach and tell stories that I want to tell, and just not drop the ball on anything.
Is there any part about your life that like you look back on and you kind of draw from when you are telling stories? Like you will because I believe, especially for directors, I feel like there's someone that should probably direct a story about their life, because they've spent so much of their time telling other people's stories that like you may forget about really why you're telling these stories. Yeah,
I mean, I draw from every relationship I've had in my past. From my childhood, from my relationship to with my parents. I feel like everybody has a story there. So I draw from that sometimes, but there's other times like when I do music videos where it's just all visual games. So I'm not really drawing from like anything in particular, or I'm telling someone else's story, like Chris's story, and then it's not about me anymore, but it's about my ability to connect to like whatever they went through. And if I can draw parallels from that to my life, even better, because then I can it helps me gain insight. But sometimes it's not the case, and I really have to dive in and do research and work with them on what makes their story interesting, which is cool about docs too, because you get to step in somebody else's shoes.
When did you learn that it's not about you? Because I feel like that is a very rare thing that people learn and helps be successful, especially in the storytelling industry, because the moment that you think it's all about you it doesn't do justice to someone else's story. When did you learn?
1000%. I don't know when I learned it, to be honest with you. I feel like it's gonna sound cheesy, but I feel like it's just something that just is innate within me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like in my blood. Like I've never thought that it was about me. I've always wanted to tell stories of other people,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it's from the being on set early on and like seeing that it's much bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that when you realize that this is much bigger than just you, I think like your stories get to that next level because you're able to step outside your element and step outside yourself.
You work with the biggest names in the business. We say Chris Brown, Mary J. Blige, Usher. What's it like working with the people that you like literally grew up watching, listening to, and now you're standing side by side? You have friends that are people that you would have looked up to as musicians or as artists. What's that like? Because that's everyone's dream,
Yeah.
It seems unattainable.
It does. It's crazy, man. I was very lucky after film school to link up with Andrew Sandler and Riveting Entertainment, who really took me under his wing, and I feel like I got a really quick path to that. Like my very first music video at the gate was Chris Brown and Nicki Minaj, and I was like 23 years old producing that with Andrew, like side by side with him. And so just being able to have that mentorship early on and watch how he interacted with these celebrities from the jump, I feel like really helped and like affected my ability to just be cool with them, man. They're just people.
Yeah.
They're just people like all of us. And the quicker like you realize that, I think like the better off you'll be like just making real relationships.
Definitely. You mentioned Andrew Listerman, someone I know as well. You've been friends with him now, 5-6 years.
Yeah, it's been
about 5 or 6 years. Have you talked between now and then about like why he picked you? Because you signed with Riveting Entertainment.
Yeah.
Has he ever said kind of like why he picked you out of the thousands of people that are out there trying to do it?
Yeah, well, I was first introduced to him through Anthony Mandler, who is like one of my favorite music video directors of all time. So Anthony linked me up with Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew took a meeting with me, which I actually later found out was a mistake from his assistant because they thought I was a different Andrew. I swear.
So having a common name is a good thing sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, everything happens for a reason, but he took the meeting and thought I was a different Andrew. But we ended up hitting it off in the meeting. I was working on my first documentary at the time.
Yeah.
I think that was fascinating to him because the topic matter of this guy Ryan Blair. He was this New York Times bestselling author and this entrepreneur, started multi-million-dollar companies, and that was my very first experience with documentary filmmaking.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we kind of hit it off. But what really got my foot in the door is one of my very first mentors, Willmar Valderrama, had a music video he wanted to shoot with me called Salute.
Yeah.
And so I basically, that's how I got my foot in the door, was I brought that video and also a video with Steve Angelo in. And I asked Andrew, I was like, hey, do you want to produce these videos for me? And he said yes, because at the time, I mean, for me, they were huge videos for me, because right at the gate, these were like massive videos with like these big like artists, and they wanted to do these real concepts or real sets. So he produced those videos for me as my first 2 music videos like ever, basically.
Yeah.
And we just hit it off, and they turned out awesome. We just kept doing it. Still doing it.
What's Willmar like? Because we grew up, watching Willmar on That 70s Show. What's he like as a human being? Just because he's someone that not really a lot of people have access to.
Yeah.
And you seem to have, like, when you mention him, it seems to be someone that you said, a role model and someone that you've looked up to.
Yeah.
What does he mean to your career?
I mean, he means everything. I mean, he was one of my early mentors, at the very beginning of it. And just being able to watch somebody who's had the incredible career that he's had, watch like how he carried himself from day to day, how he treats the people in his circle, and how he just navigates this industry was like so inspiring because, naturally you deal with like celebrities, you deal with artists who, aren't the best of people sometimes. But he's just always like a rock, man. He's a hard worker. He's like respectable. And so he taught me like amazing life lessons just about how to like carry myself and have a long career in this industry. So I take that with me till this day.
Yeah.
We're still best friends till this day.
Dope.
Super, super lucky I got to even like link up with him, and even luckier that he like took me under his wing a little bit.
Well, obviously he took you under his wing for a reason, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people that are great in their industry, they seek out the younger or the people that they believe that have something in them as well.
Yeah.
What like when you're on set and you're working with all these artists, there's always gonna be people that, like you said, that maybe aren't the nicest of people. how do you kind of deal with that? Because there's one thing of being like professional and you have to work with these people, and there's the second part of like, okay, like sometimes you have to take a stand on like you can't either act or do what that is. You know, have you run into situations like that?
I mean, I think we all have working in an industry, and you know, it changes from day to day, and there's, you know, highs and lows and ups and downs, and I think that as I continue to work in this industry and put myself out there and carry a certain energy, then you only attract the people who vibrate at that frequency. So I feel like the people I'm starting to like work with now and choose to work with are the kind of people that I want to be working with.
Are you at that point where
but it's not always like that at the beginning? Sometimes you have to put up with people who aren't the nicest, and that's just part of the business.
And that's kind of where I was going to go with that, is like, are you at that point now where you can make those decisions of who you want to work with yet, or are you kind of like, you feel like you're almost there?
I feel like I'm almost there. Yeah.
How is that? Because obviously coming out of USC, and you know how it is with within the industry, it's so competitive. You get into this industry and there's a million people breathing down your back. Has there been a point since then, since kind of like coming out of college to now, where you feel like you're not always looking over your shoulder at someone that's trying to take your position?
I think that's a good question. I mean, it's more competitive than ever, I feel like, right now, because everybody has access. You know, everybody, but I feel like you can't look at it like that. I feel like you can't look over your shoulder, you can't look to your left, your right. You just gotta focus on what you're doing and just have faith and trust in the process, and know that like if you do whatever you're doing like to the best of your ability, that you're just gonna shine no matter what. And look at it like a collaborative effort, like, and not something competitive. You know, like if you make the people around you shine, you'll shine brighter.
You mentioned the fact that everyone has access at the moment, and I think it's a beautiful time, because it allows anyone with a vision or a dream or a story to tell to be able to tell their stories. Like you said, also, that makes it very competitive. What would you be saying to someone that's, you know, looking to get into USC and wants to either direct or produce? What is it about telling a great story that really resonates with people?
I mean, I think that it's great to, first of all, like, find mentorship, model your career after people who you aspire to be, but by the same token, you got to create your own journey. And so if you're able to really figure out and hone in on what kind of stories you want to tell, and you tell those stories only the way that you can tell them, that's what's going to make you stand out and be different and get to USC or whatever you need to be, because that goes like unnoticed. Yeah, you were lucky enough to, you know, be a part of telling Chris Brown's story. What is, and especially at a point for Chris Brown where he really like needed to tell that story. You know, he's had a kid now, and like he really kind of needed to tell his side of it. And it's probably one of the documentaries and one of the stories that we wanted to hear, like, for our time. Like, that was a story that we all wanted to hear. What's that like, getting to tell that story? Damn, it was pretty incredible. I mean, I still look back and it's just like crazy to me, because I grew up on Chris Brown's music. Like, I remember listening to it.
Were you dancing in the living room listening to it?
Yeah, of course, singing in the shower. Yeah, everybody.
You're just hoping like one day maybe my voice is gonna be like that, and then my dance moves is gonna be a little better.
Exactly. Yeah, man, it's incredible that I was able to tell that story. But even before I started the documentary, I had worked on like 20 videos with Chris and with Andrew at Riveting. So I, you know, kind of got to know him through that. But the documentary was something that he really actually allowed us to tell his story. You know, he didn't interfere. He never told me like what questions to ask all the different artists I was interviewing. He really like allowed us to give that platform to him to be able to tell his story, which I think is like really admirable.
How are you making your decisions right now, like on kind of what you work on and where you're kind of moving forward? Because like I said, we've talked before about all the different things that you have going on. How do you manipulate your way through all the noise, kind of to try to seek out the opportunities? Because there's so many opportunities, and you're at that level now where you can make the phone calls and talk to the right people And that's a great place to be. But whose stories are you looking for?
Damn, that's a good question. Whose stories am I looking for?
Because there's so many stories out there to be told, but
yeah. Are you talking about like documentaries specifically, or just stories in general? Because
I would say documentaries, because I feel like that's where your like your storytelling ability shines. You know what I mean? Like I think that when you can tell someone else's story in a way that is at par as good as they would like, that shows the ability of a director.
Yeah. I mean, what I realized is that if you're a documentary filmmaker, whatever story you decide to tell and sign on to, like, you have to realize that you're going to be living with that for the next year of your life.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking for stories, I think to myself, like, is this a story? Is this a human being? Is this an artist, a person, whatever, that I want to be living in that world for the next year of my life? Because it is a grueling, long process, man.
Yeah.
And so that's like the first step. And if it's not something that I want to be living in, or a story that I want to be telling that's on your mind, 26 hours a day, then just that's like the first sign of just like walk away and keep looking.
Do you ever get lost in someone else's life and kind of take on their whatever's going on? Because you must be looking through so much footage and shooting so much footage. Yeah. Do you ever like leave and feel like that's who you are?
It's definitely a strange process. I mean, like with Chris's doc, when we were in the editing room, it's like, you're in a dark room for days on end, and you're just staring at that person's like life and that person's footage, and then you walk out the edit room and you see the sun. It's like a super weird feeling.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to like remember like who you are for a minute. But I think that's why it's important to keep family and friends, whatever it is, keep the right circle around you who can keep you grounded and like remind you like, hey, you're home now, or like you're not in that world anymore.
Lots of people I feel like in the industry suffer to do that. They find it very hard, and I've worked with a lot of people, and a lot of the conversations that I have in here, lots of people give up that side of life. How have you managed, or do you believe like have you compromised that side, or have you managed to keep it, you have a life outside of your work?
I think that I do have a life outside my work, but it's definitely like in this career that I've chosen, it's very minimal, for sure. Because like work is definitely like my life right now, but I think it's important to like keep a small aspect of that. Like family is so important. Like I'm super close with my brother, my sister, and my mom, and like I feel like that's something that keeps me super like grounded and like connected to reality. Because if you don't have that connection to reality, you might get lost in this crazy industry.
Yeah. Do you love what you get to do right now?
I love it, man. I love it.
What's that like? Because I feel like as a kid you get told, like the whole thing is, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But then you look around and you see people working every day that you can tell that don't love what they get to do. Like, what's that realization right now at early 30s that you get to do what you love?
Still in my late 20s, man.
Late 20s. Wait, I thought you were a year older than me. Maybe I'm giving myself...
I just turned 29 last month.
Okay, there you go.
I'm already feeling old.
I'm older, bro. See, I'm the older one. My bad. Come on. I just got rid of 2 of your years.
Damn.
But yeah, what is it like that late 20s and you get to do what you love every day?
I'm just so grateful, man. Like, cause it could end at any moment.
True.
And I think that you just got to realize that and just like be grateful for every opportunity and every day and every person that comes in your life.
Mm-hmm. Are you at right now before you got into USC? Would you have seen yourself where you are right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like that's the thing, and it's not even about like ego, but I feel like if you just believe that it's attainable and like you don't have a plan B, it just it happens for yourself. You can't like second guess or think that anything is beyond what you can accomplish.
Yeah.
And that was my mentality when I applied to USC and didn't apply anywhere else. Like I just knew it was gonna happen. I knew I'd be here now, and I'm not even I'm not even scratching the surface of where I want to be.
Where do you want to be?
Where I want to be?
Where do you want to be?
Where do I want to be?
Because I get asked that a lot, and I've started recently writing down goals and writing down things, even as much as the week and then as month, and then I have a 5 and a 10 kind of year. Where do you want to be? You know, because once you write it down, it really makes you have to do it.
For sure. That's something I started doing like the past few years too, is writing down my goals. But the ultimate goal for me is movies and TV, and I love documentaries, and I want to keep doing, being able to tell those stories. But definitely like the goal in the next few years is to transition to like bigger movies and feature films.
Who are you putting yourself next to? Because I feel like putting yourself next to people that are either doing what you want to do in the industry is very important. Yeah. Surrounding yourself with the people that can help you and also inspire you. Who are you putting yourself around right now that you believe is going to allow you to get to that position?
I mean, I think like right now I've surrounded myself with like other directors and producers, and I have a great manager and people like that who are at kind of like the next level of where I want to go. And I think it's important because if you surround yourself with people who are at that level, then they'll just naturally pull you up.
Don't you think that that's something that is it's almost like the opposite of what we do at a younger age? We try to be the best person in the group.
100%. And I feel like if I'm the smartest person in the room, then it's not a room I want to be in.
It's not the room you want to be in.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. That's something that it's crazy as you get older that you can understand like these things that at a younger age are just kind of like writing that you read and you don't look at it. And it's like something even like this. Everyone has always told me, and I've been around people that meditation is like something great. Do meditate for years. I never did it. I started doing it maybe 6 months ago and it changed my life.
Dude, I started a month ago. I'm still like,
no way.
I got downloaded the app Headspace.
Bro, that's what I'm over.
I'm still super like new at it, and it's still hard for me. Even like I try and do 10 minutes a day. Yeah. But I'm actually starting to now like really notice, because I was a stress ball before, dude. Yeah. Like I was just like, I mean, you can imagine like, because like I'm doing the documentaries, but I'm still doing, you know, all the music videos. Yeah. I'm not slowing down in anything. And I was always just like I feel like I was just always sprinting.
I feel you.
But meditation like really helps you just like take, even if it's 10 minutes a day, I feel like it just helps you like slow down and just like take a minute. Yeah. And then just like, cool.
What is it throughout the day? Because I do the same, and it's crazy because we haven't talked about this before, and I use the exact same app as you, and I do about 10 minutes a day, maybe 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, depending on what happens. For me, it clears my head, and I'm so much more, I can see the end goal easier. Yeah. What is it for you that meditation on a daily basis helps you with?
I think stillness is is something I never had before. Like I always would like wake up, and the second I like, because I'm just so excited every day to like wake up and just get after it. Yeah. Like I love what I do. I love this industry. I love navigating every single day. Yeah. Because there's no one way. It's like, it's so fun for me because it's like there's a million ways, a million different directions you can take your day or take your career, and that's what's fun for me is like figuring out, all right, how do I get to that person? How do I get this project? How do I tell this story? But there's like small things, but that being said, it was like I was sprinting for so long that like I kind of hit a wall in a way. So I had to kind of like reevaluate, like, all right, I need to, I think, take a second to reevaluate, like, you know, how I can like better like take care of myself and like make it happen for myself. So that's why I downloaded the app and I started meditating. Like very like small things I do, like a very small thing that I do now is I don't sleep next to my phone. I put it across the room.
So smart.
And because the first thing I would do when I woke up is I would check my phone. Instantly, you're just back in this like
back in work mode.
But there's something like that like waking up and not looking at your phone is the very, very first thing in the morning. It like gives you like a second to like wake up and not start in a reactive place. So I've like applied like small, like super small things like that and meditation that I think like have exponentially like just helped me like so much just in the past 6 months.
Do you think you're more aware of yourself now?
100%. Yeah, for sure. And I think that a lot of people like forget sometimes that how important it is to like take care of yourself and like do these small things, like just take 10 minutes out of your day to meditate or be still or whatever it is, how much those small things can just affect your productivity on like a whole new level.
Talk to, before you get out of here, the 16-year-old kid that wants to be where you are right now. Yeah. What is, you know, like what should they do at 16 right now
16.
in this day and age, you know?
I mean, like, to want to be a filmmaker?
They want to be a filmmaker. Yeah, they want to be a director. They want to be a producer. They want to be in the industry.
Yeah.
What should they be doing? Because in 10 years, not even in 10 years, even now, you will be the person that's looking for someone to be, you know, the Andrew Listerman that was to you, to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like I said earlier, first thing is create every day. Like, we live in a world where you have access to everything. You have access to anyone. You can, if you are inspired by somebody, you can YouTube them or listen to their podcasts or listen to, shows like this. And you can kind of like model your career after people that you look up to and take a little bit from everybody. But really like work on finding your inner voice. So create every day on a mission to find your own voice. And I feel like it's something a lot of people do because they just, when they sometimes people want to create every day to like copy other people.
Yeah.
And like we all steal and copy from other people, but like, steal from people you admire, make it your own.
Yeah, and
really
I feel
find your voice and have fun.
And the moment that you're trying to like completely copy someone, you're always chasing.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're always chasing, there's no way that you can ever get above someone. You know what I mean? You're always going to be coming from behind there.
Yep. Everyone's journey is different, so you just got to find like what your journey is, and people will be drawn to that. So as long as you remember like to focus on what kind of stories you want to tell and your own journey, which is different from anyone else's journey, people will be attracted to that.
Hell
it's about energy.
Love it. That's the game changers mentality right there, though. Your journey has been awesome, and thank you for sharing it with me here. And to more success, bro.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah.